Yes. Welcome back to the channel with me, Disco, coming at you with another live beer review set of beers from here in front of the cans and bottles of what I'm making up to be the Disco Arms. Gee, that was tenuous. And yes, no intro today. I completely forgot to make up the intro, and that wasn't just the other technical issues. Suddenly, my laptop seems to have given up the ghost, and I can't use one of the USB ports. So, a little bit of a rejig, and here we are. Who drinks a set of beers on a Sunday night? Well, I do, because as always, I can. Thought I had loads of time today to do all that making the stuff up, and I completely forgot to do the intro. I was off for work today, so I went into work. To do bits and things and stuff and have a jolly good roast dinner. And then I forgot to do the intro. Never mind, maybe I'll put that out afterwards if I can get around to it. So no intro today, but a set of free beers. And just say I'm not at work tomorrow, so hopefully a little bit of a lie-in. If anyone is joining on a Sunday evening, do let me know in the comments. Let me know what beers you are drinking, or indeed what beers you've drunk over the weekend. If you're watching after the event as well, do feel free to put in the comments down there underneath, depending on which device you look at and where they are, and the like and subscribe buttons and all that jazz, depending on what device you watch this on. Am I on any of your televisual sets? That would be a scary feeling. Disco in high definition and 3 foot diameter, as I'm going to say, but that's a circle. But yeah, do let me know what you're drinking if indeed you are drinking along. As you see from the thumbnail, I've got a set of 3 random beers. Well, I find that they're random. I don't know how random they actually are, but they are all collab beers, so 2 different breweries to tag in when I eventually do the write-ups on Instagram, as I did today for some beers from last week. And in fact, I've still got 3 beers from the week before to get around to doing the write-ups. So if you follow on Instagram, check out them and have a comment or 2. But let's get straight into it, if I can find the video file, as always, with beer number 1, please. Should put some sound to that or something. But yeah, beer number 1, please, is this delightful sounding little number from the absolute maniacs, mentalist, or beer legends, depending on which way you look at it, Hackney Church Brew Co. in London. And this is a collab with a very simply named but oddly unpronounceable, because nobody's quite sure. We'll find out about that in a minute. But I believe they're called Mackie Mackie. And as far as I know, this is the first beer from Mackie Mackie. I've seen a lot of other reviewers talk about Mackie Mackie, particularly Scott reviews things because they're down in Portsmouth, nearby him. And I've seen only one other person, PJT and Michelle, rate my beer and do this one because they've got close ties with Hackney Church. Put it into the Czech beer glass for no apparent reason. There's a little bit of a dent on this one, so I don't know if I'm going to get the balance. But as you know, I like to do a can balance, whether can or not in this one. No, there we go. So yeah, bear with me a second whilst I take the photograph. I think that's not quite. Yeah, there we go. No, stay. There we go. Can balance. Love it. Right, whilst I take the photograph. So if you've not watched this show before, I always do the same thing. Pour the beer. Try and remember to do the silly can balance because these things amuse me. Then step off camera. Try not to kick the camera whilst I do. Quick photo of the beer for the Instagram purposes. Tomorrow, if I get a chance, maybe. So I don't think I'm working tomorrow, but there's no such chance I might get called in for some specific thing. Let me just get the light off of that. If I get the name in. Yeah, so it's called Briar Patch. It's a Fruits of the Forest sour. So, not necessarily one for this time of year. Yeah, I'll get that in. Hopefully in focus. It always takes far too long to get that sometimes. Yeah, no, that looks massively brighter on camera. See how bright that looks on the photograph with a little filter on it, but there we go. It is what it is. Much darker behind the camera. It is, of course, a sour beer. Maki, fairly well known, I think, in certain craft beer circles. So they're slightly mad ice cream sours, where they, I think, somewhere along the line, actually put ice cream in the beers. Yeah, this one's called Briar Patch, 4.8% fruits of the forest sour, made with Maki, but I think made up at Hackney Church in East London. So, pours out nicely into the glass. Good head development, although on the first pour there wasn't a lot, but that's been reinvigorated by the second pour. Oh, I'm expecting a big bunch of fruit coming out. And I kind of am. It's definitely feels like a bit of blackcurrant in there. Maybe some blackberry, but it also feels like slightly something I normally get off of off of stouts actually. It's like vegetal. But this one is definitely sort of hedgerow kind of vegetation, oddly. Being that there's a fair bit of hedgerow around this way, I kind of recognise that smell a little bit. But anyway, let's get down in there and see just how sour this is and what sort of fruits and berries, fruits of the forest sour this is. Cheers and enjoy the beers. Yeah, absolutely solid, pretty much bang on. It tastes a bit ghoster-like. There's a little bit of salinity in there as well. That's bouncing off the kind of there's blackcurrant sorbet kind of notes in there, definitely. More kind of blackberry for me. A little bit of raspberry, a little bit of blackberry, I think maybe, but definitely blackcurrant on the face of it. Yeah, some oddly ghost-like salinity. Not bad. It's not anywhere near indigestion levels of sour. It's it's lip smacking, but not lip puckering. It's not out and out in your face sour. It's kind of that kind of what are those blackcurrant kind of ice pop kind of things, but it hasn't quite got a watery edge to it. So it's not. It's there or thereabouts, but it's got a medium thick body. That's the thing I think. It's not like unctuous and luscious like some Vault City sours or like the Maki stuff. But it's fairly drinkable. I'm not a massive fan of sours, but I do try them. And obviously, a big fruit sour and plenty of fruit in it, where there's that balance of fruit, sweet, and a little bit of tangy kind of sourness on the back end. I prefer it less sour than anything. I'm not a big fan of like tang-fastic sweets or something like that in my beer, but it is one that I would say they're worth a try. Especially, I would put something like this in the middle of it. I know I always start on sours and move up, but if I'm on a bit of a session or something, I always say a sour goes in the middle pretty well to kind of like refresh the palate a little bit, give the palate a little bit of a shock, a little bit of vitamin C hit, a bit of energy going on. So once you've got through the pales and maybe even some kind of tropical hazies and stuff, a little fruited sour for me kind of just sort of resets the equilibrium before I naturally go to something darker, as I will tonight. But yeah, starting with a sour can often go wrong because it kind of sets a tone of that sour note on the palate. Depending on what you put behind it, it's always kind of there. It's very difficult to get rid of when you drink like I do for review and I bang 3 beers in together. But yeah, it's got that kind of, I say, ice pop sort of note without being the wateriness of it. But you know what I mean? That kind of, the flavours are all there, but it's got that kind of slightly sorbet, a bit like if they did a blackcurrant or Ribena strawberry mivvy. And in fact, I'm sure from some ice cream vans there were some kind of blackcurrant kind of ice lolly things. Feels like there might be a little bit of lactose going on to sort of smooth it out, or maybe it's the oats. Maybe there's a nice little oat content that gives it a kind of, there is a smoothness to it. Fairly easy drinkable. I want to go back for more like some sours I've had on here. I've laboured a little bit. Pretty tired today after a fairly heavy one yesterday with an event on at work. So it's kind of on my feet all day. I say, still have to get up early-ish this morning and nip up there for other reasons. So it's been fairly relaxing day, although a jolly good bacon sandwich from a local cafe, not from up the farm, followed by the horse and the loose. Quite frankly, legendary £25 roast dinner. Sounds a lot. Don't know, what do you reckon? 25 quid for a roast dinner, but trust, it is, it feels like you've had £25 worth of roast dinner up there. They cook the meat superbly well. They do get really good cuts of meat anyway. Choice of two or both, beef and pork, absolutely kind of melt in the mouth. Like, yeah, don't even need a knife really. Can pretty much just tear it with the fork. They finish it off in a wood-fired pizza oven. They do pizzas on a Saturday. A lovely little bit of absolutely spot on crackling on the pork rind. And the beef is just superb. As are the veg. I think they do the potatoes in the oven as well. Just gives it that nice kind of crispy kind of edge with the high temps, and just finish off the cooking. And yeah, it comes out big platter. You get plenty between four of us. Yeah, with a big platter of food. And yeah, pretty decent gravy, to be fair. Always rounds off a decent roast dinner, I think. So yeah, kudos to the horse and the loaf. If you ever get up there on a Sunday, on the right Sunday, they only do certain Sundays, but yeah, do absolutely phenomenal roast dinner up there. In my opinion, don't have them every week. Don't have them every time. I haven't had one for a couple of months, but yeah, their roast potatoes are spot on, and the meat's really decent. So, but after that, kind of tiredness set in. You know what I mean? Outside a little bit, so I didn't really do a lot this afternoon. I went to watch football. Of course, went sat and watched the football, the England game. Anybody bothered with it? It wasn't the most exciting game, but there was a win, so that was great. Don't recognise half the England team these days. In fact, a couple of them that I do recognise weren't playing. So, but yeah, good old Harry Kane banged in a couple. Sorry if you're waiting for the result. Probably not, but you were watching after the event. Know it by now. And sorry for technical difficulties ongoing. I think I'm going to have to get a new setup. This is a little bit too much on the, I don't know if phone, like it's getting a bit, maybe a couple of years old now. I do everything off the mobile data. I refuse to get fucking broadband and all that business. But yeah, not going to moan. Not hang on. Yeah, predominantly blackcurrant. A little bit of kind of strawberry coming in maybe late on. A little bit more juiciness now between kind of tart fruit. Let's see what we've got. What should be getting? Oh, here are the ingredients. There is oats in it. Contains, it says, water, barley, oats, wheat, ovs, strawberry, blackberry, raspberry, and blackcurrant. No, I didn't read that. I'm just guessing. Less or a greater quantity. So I wouldn't say the fruit note is particularly balanced. Yeah, blackcurrant is listed last, but I think it goes much more towards blackberry and raspberry is kind of there, but very much in the background. 30th of July 2026. I only picked this up recently. Direct order it's basically by about 4.5, get 1.5 free at least. Buy one get one, at least buy 5 get one free. When you're looking at £4 a can, 4.5 in some cases, depending on this one. So I think that's a really good deal, obviously, plus transport. And they knocked it out across London in a couple of days, so I was quite happy with that. I don't know if you've seen the unboxing of these on Instagram, but I only really got it for the Gazpacho Ghost, which is another little bit of madness of sour that I didn't quite fancy trying today, to be fair. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to do that as a standalone video or in some kind of live, but yeah, on a sort of this time of night on a Sunday, I thought that was a little bit too way out, maybe. So yeah, like gazpacho soup, was it tomato, cucumber, some red pepper, I think, and I think some garlic in there as well. Not really a fan of gazpacho's cold soup, which essentially beer is, isn't it? Really cold soup at the end of the day. Bang a bit of hops in and some plant-based content. It is basically a cold soup at the end of the day, especially as you cook it, you boil it, which is where you make it. But yeah, I didn't really fancy that tonight, so I went for the berries, went for the fruit, give you a little bit of a boost, which I think has done the job so far. So good. That for content makes it really easy drinking, and I can smash it down fairly quickly. What was the other information I was going to look up? Oh, here, yeah, there is a thing on the side. I saw this on the website. Step into the world. Briar Patch is a tangy tangle of strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, and red currants, bursting with hedgerow carrots. I did say there was that kind of hedgerow vegetable note in the aroma as well, funnily enough. Brewed with their friends at Mackie Mackie. Bright, juicy fruit meets a gently soft, sour base with a touch of Belmo hops. Another new hop. Never heard of Belmo. You guys? Follow the brambles, you'll be rewarded. Yeah. And to be fair, all the berries pretty much are on the can artwork. So yeah, nice little, I don't know. It kind of suggests, if anything, I think Briar Patch suggests a little bit of like wild forest, but there's not a lot of forest over in Hackney. Have to go a bit further out to Epping, unless they enlisted worker John the Poacher. He was wild foraged, so I guess they're sort of commercial fruit purees probably, but banged it together pretty well. I'm still not sure about the Mackie Mackie thing, whether it's make or Mackie Mackie, but I was watching this the other day from Planet Beer TV.
Today's brewery is
Mackie Mackie.
Okay, so we are here with Mark from Mackie Mackie.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, man, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Well, that was that fairly swiftly cleared up. And the main man from Mackie Mackie didn't argue when they said Mackie, like footballer Jamie Mackie. But there you go. Yes, it's Mackie Mackie, not make. Glad we cleared that up. Yeah, I forgot to cue this up as well. Oh, no, there it is. Didn't forget to cue this up. Let's have a quick look at Mackie Mackie now. We've had a look at Hackney Church several times before because I've had a fair amount of their beers in. Have we seen Mackie Mackie before? Have I just had a look at them for no apparent reason? Feels like I have. Anyway, this is Mackie. They're down in Portsmouth. So Mackie is some kind of like space kind of reference, I believe. Listening to that interview, so a lot of their stuff. Yeah, I was born in 1988. That'll do. Yeah, so they have lots of kind of space, which is not the only brewery. You could put a whole stream together of breweries that have space references. For example, there on the right, Space Soda, Pink Guava and Passion Fruit. Sounds horrendous. I'll probably avoid that. Better Oblivion, a milk stout, solid. Something to do with Strata. Yeah, so as you can see there, Pizza Planet is their big one. Kind of mainstay pale ale. So all kinds of Stella and Planet references. 4.8 session stout. Milk stout 6%. That's a session stout. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of people do, and I've briefly considered, just haven't got around to it quite. Strawberry milkshake ale or mango milkshake ale, which listening to that Planet did suggest they actually have ice cream at some point in the brew. Pineapple and grapefruit sour sounds horrendous apart from the pineapple. Far out lager. So it's close to Budweiser as they can possibly get. We got closer. Yeah, so some solid kind of artwork on the cans. Looks good stuff. No background story there. Free shipping over 60 quid is good. And they got some merch. I got a t-shirt. Oh, t-shirt's got something interesting on the back. Yes, that says make in sideways. I quite like that. Yeah, so some good stuff there from Mackie down on the south coast. I've seen a lot of other people talk about it. Plenty of stuff on the Instagram. I'll look into that a bit further at some other stage because I'm down the bottom of this glass. So that was beer number 1. Hackney Church Brew Co. Collab with Mackie Briar Patch. A 4.8% Fruits of the Forest sour. Cheers. Nicely smooth, but more sorbet rather than ice cream. Fairly smashable. Pretty enjoyable, to be fair. Really nice sour. Going to need a bit of water across the palate to cleanse that of that kind of tart fruitiness. And there's still a little bit of salinity going around, which won't be too bad for the next beers, I don't think. But yeah, let's move swiftly on to, not swiftly because of this video file nonsense playing. Beer number 2, please. And beer number 2 is, again, which I think is partly the basis for this kind of randomness of this stream. Kind of random, what feels like a fairly random collab. More so than Hackney. 2 breweries kind of separated by a couple of counties. Not in direct competition, but kind of opposite ends of an area. I guess probably just they're southeast, so it's not that random, to be fair. This one feels much more random. Salopian Brewery, obviously, as the name suggests, in Shropshire, Shrewsbury. Much more kind of traditional brewery, I think. More kind of bitters, cask-led. But trying their hand, as many cask-led kind of traditional breweries I want to do, get into the slightly more craft space, but they got their own stouts. But they've done a whole range of collabs, of which I got in 3. Mainly the most one for me was the collab with Anspach and Hobday, which is a Black Forest stout, which I probably should have put in this series, being that we've got Fruits of the Forest sour, but I kind of wanted to go a bit different. You know, I wasn't really going to compare those 2. I thought this one was equally kind of what feels like random, although if you're going to pick eminent craft breweries. Ansbach of the Salopian, and the other one was from NeonRaptor, which is what this one is, and the other one with Buxton. Sounds like a fair spread to me, to be fair. So I don't know whether it's like, I don't know what they do with collabs. I'd love to find out really just how they kind of, do they just pick up the phone and go, all right, lads, want to do a collab? And lasses, or does NeonRaptor go around? Or I don't know. It's like, I'd be kind of interested to know and find out really, just sort of, how these kind of random collabs come about. But anyway, this is Salopian Brewery collab with NeonRaptor Brewing out of Nottingham. It's called The Void. It is a 5.7% Mocha Stout, front of the can. Thank you. There we go. So yeah, pours out fairly kind of coffee coloured, as you might expect from a Mocha Stout. Very difficult putting something like that in a white can label, because Mocha, often coffee stouts tend to kind of be, in case it is a bit lively, it might jump out a little bit. But I've seen to have gone that all right. It does the balance pretty well. Superb. So I'm going to step off and do the photograph. As always, with the can balance, nice creamy, bubbly head development. There's a few bubbles dissipating to start with, but it looks like that head development might stick around actually, because it's quite creamy, although there are some big bubbles here and there. Put it in my cold glass, of course. White can is really difficult to photograph in this light, because I haven't got decent lighting sorted out. White and pink is really difficult. Let's get down there, see what we can find down that lighting range. Keep sending me a move further away in portrait, but I kind of want to get it in view. Yeah, that's not too bad. That works. Just about see the Salopian. Yeah, there we go. It looks quite good on camera. I like that kind of white and pink juxtaposition. Goes pretty well together, I think. That head development is sticking around. Really need to invigorate it on the second pour there, to be fair. In fact, no, there it is. See that development? Kind of two-tier development there now. That much darker kind of tan note underneath. It's gone underneath on that second pour. But yeah, there we go. Kick the camera again, haven't I? Yeah, so Salopian. Let's have a look at it. Salopian Lemon Dream is one that I've drunk for a long while. Not drunk for a long while, but I've seen it around way back in the day. For me, anyway. Yeah, so let us know in the comments below if you're watching this after the event. How you reckon this stuff comes along, Salopian and NeonRaptor. I say, do they just like phone each other up, or does Salopian go around? Is there like a message board for breweries? Go, hey guys, anybody want to do a collab? And what each other gets from it? Is it just a bit of fun? Is it just kind of, I don't know. I imagine there's a fair amount of you bump into each other like trade day or kind of beer festival if you're pouring, and you end up next to each other and go, oh, all right, lads, yeah. And that's just, you're a good laugh. Want to come over and do a brew? I'd love to know just how some of this randomness occurs, especially when you travel a bit. I mean, I do know, if you go like to America or something, you can be like, hey, I'm traveling, with my brewery. You get some random American. Hackney Church have done collabs with American breweries coming over here. So yeah, I'd love to know. I'm just curious like that, I guess. But let's see. Curious about how this random collab between Salopian and NeonRaptor pans out. Love a Mocha Stout. Often can be a bit difficult. I think coffee Coffee often pops up more unintentionally if you've got the right malts. And then if you go and put coffee in it as well, it can go a little awry sometimes. Nose is just blocked. Bear with. Because I would like to be smelling the coffee, so hold on. Also, with the old technical difficulties, let me know if the audio is okay and the visuals are vaguely in focus. If you're watching along, and also what you're drinking. Cheers, anyway. Let's have a sniff. Yeah, not too much on aroma. Touch of dark malt, a very kind of faint, kind of milky kind of coffee note going on. Rather than being out and out strong coffee. So let's dive in. Sounds like my kind of thing anyway. So yeah, cheers. Enjoy the beers. Very strong, dark coffee note. That head development helps with that kind of milky kind of, I don't know, me posh Ponzi coffees as I call it. So it feels like there's some kind of milky latte-ness going on in there. But quite dark, bitter coffee, slightly dark bit of chocolate as well going on. So definitely hitting all the right notes. And obviously there's a fair band, I guess, in coffee, you know, big coffee chains, coffee aficionados will be able to tell you the exact difference. For me, it's all the same. I just drink regular, whatever the cheapest or whatever supermarket happened to be in, the basic coffee for me. Instant all the way. I haven't got time for any of this percolator nonsense or coffee pods. Just the basic coffee will do me. To be honest, a couple in the morning and I'm grand. So the only time I like anything fancy or Ponzi in my coffee isn't a big stout, really. Or sometimes a pale ale. You do get one or two breweries that go pale on it. But there you go. No, this one's all right. It does feel like a big kind of big NeonRaptor style beer with those kind of very pronounced coffee notes, bit of dark, bit of chocolate. Not out and out coffee, particularly, just that kind of dark, bitter, roasty notes, but a little bit of burnt toast going on there. Definitely burnt white bread rather than any kind of brioche sweetness or anything like that. Yeah, some definite kind of basic white bread, burnt toast, if you know what I mean. It feels like when you get burnt toast and you scrape off all the burnt bits, but you still get that slightly burnt taste underneath with those kind of bready kind of malt notes. That way, by the way, is not a criticism. That's just what I'm getting. So as coffee stouts go, it's not a big hitter with the coffee, but it is nice and smooth, fairly balanced, fairly. I mean, a lot of people don't like coffee, as many people that do, because they only really like coffee pronounced or whatever in my beers. So this one is quite a good hitter. This David Wilson, thanks for popping in. Hope you're having a great Sunday night. Maybe got a beer or two on the go as well. Do let me know. Yeah, once again, I'm doing a Sunday stream just because, you know, I've got beers in. These are just sort of random cans, only connected by the fact that they're all collabs. I think slightly random collabs, especially this one in the middle, Salopian and NeonRaptor, very much traditional versus craft brewery, whatever NeonRaptor bought, but it does feel quite like it feels a bit like a NeonRaptor beer. Just the whiskey now. Classic laddie, fair play. Hello laddie. Yeah. It's that kind of time on a Sunday night, and you know, I've been off today, so I've been at the brewery anyway. I had a solid roast dinner, kind of chilled a bit, but I'm still feeling a little bit tired. So, yeah, started on a sour, kind of getting a vitamin C bit up and a bit of energy for talking about beer. And now I'm on to the stouts. And yeah, this one, I say Salopian. I know Mr. Wilson will probably know Salopian fairly well, fairly traditional kind of brewery, giving a craft thing a go. I didn't even realize they kind of did that. I've seen I'm fairly sure they're fairly cask-led brewery. In fact, let's have a look at Salopian. Let's have a look at the website, see what we can find. Where are they? Oh, I haven't even lined it up properly. But there we go. This is this one anyway. So I'm going to read that because it'll probably be on the can as well. Full-bodied and decadent stout brewed in collaboration with our friends at NeonRaptor. Huge charges of oats and specialty dark grains provide a rich, velvety malt base complemented by lashings of cacao, vanilla, and whiskey-infused coffee beans. From local roasters, Iron and Fire. The end result is a complex and opulent treat to warm the bones and soothe the spirit. First brewed 2024. So this must be a rebrew because I only just seen it now. Color is not void. Gives the hyper information, which is good. Brewer's Gold and Sabro. Sabro is interesting because I often think of coconut and I never really get it. I don't think for me they're wrong in that description. I think they've maybe slightly overplayed it. Velvety, I can see the velvet kind of. I wouldn't use velvety. It's smooth enough. There's that kind of soft kind of edge to it. Now I've read velvet, it does feel like that slightly brown sugar rough edge, like running your fingers over a bit of velvet. Vanilla, I never get anyway. Whiskey infused coffee beans sounds fantastic to me. I can't say I get that, to be honest, because I would normally say with some kind of spirity edge, and I don't necessarily get that spirity edge with this. That's not a criticism either. It definitely does. There is a slight kind of warming note. There's definitely a sort of soothing, coffee note to it. It doesn't go kind of old leather sofa in a smoky pub kind of coffee. It's just a kind of fairly gentle. It's not nondescript because there is definitely coffee notes, but it's very gentle on the coffee, I think. Yeah, it's not a big note of anything. It's just there. It's very pleasant, very drinkable. Like I say, more kind of roasty, kind of bitter notes of both coffee and to a certain extent chocolate. Slight bit of burnt toast, burnt white bread. Very basic white bread for me. And kind of there is a slight kind of dark fruit note, but I'm not sure if that isn't from the fruits of the forest, the first one. Right. That's interesting. I'll have a look at the rest of the info on the can. As always, have a look at the shop. There's some nice looking beers, to be fair. Right. So what they've done is put it in section. I prefer just looking at all of them together. This is the one I got, build your own mix case. As I say, the Hackney Church one was 20 quid for a 6-pack. I got a build your own case. In fact, I got build your own 6-pack in this little box. So that's what I say about being a traditional brewery. You've got a lot of kind of fairly trad 500ml bottles for 40ml cans. They seem to have taken the 6-pack off of that. That I got, it was about 28 quid, I think, plus delivery, of course. See if it's under all beer still. There's the Black Forest one I got. So they do mix up a bit with the bottles and the cans. Lemon Dream I got in can, but it's also available in bottle. That's an interesting one. I did briefly look at that. Build your own beer and a t-shirt, but I wasn't sure I quite liked the t-shirt enough. So I just got the cans in. Darwin's Origin is another one of their regular beers I've had a long time ago on pint. Definitely, I've not had any bottles of it. Lemon Dream I've definitely had pints of. I'm fairly certain in Wetherspoons back in the day. There's your Build Your Own gift box. That's the one I got in. So I've got that Buxton one there, the Mind, which is another fairly interesting one, a white IPA. Cashmere is an IPA. I got the Auric. I got the White Whale, and the Buxton and the Black Forest. This one seems to have gone now. So no, I got two of those. That one seems to have gone. Yeah, I don't think I got the Auric. Yeah, 28.50, which I thought also quite reasonable for 6 cans, to be fair. Plus delivery. Let's have a quick look at the story, see what they got to say. That's very picturesque, isn't it? Salopian Brewery first brewed in Shrewsbury in 1995, founded by Martin Barry on the site of the old Onions Dairy. Onions Dairy doesn't sound great. Who wants onions in your milk or cream? And like many breweries, the kit we first brewed on was small and rudimentary at only 2 barrels. The brew length gave us scope to innovate and brew some wonderfully different eclectic styles of beer. It laid the foundations of what would come our black range. So yeah, kind of 1995. Very much pre-craft. So kind of fairly traditional kind of stuff. 29 years, bloody is that? Yeah, so long ago the 90s was. Oh, some lovely looking kit there. The village of Hackney on the outskirts of Shrewsbury, purpose-built brewery is complemented by a much-loved tap room and shop. 2021 saw the commission of our first canning line to work alongside the bottling line, so they've been doing well in COVID, enough to make that leap into a bit more crafty kind of stuff. Fair play. Yeah, so it's a brewery I haven't seen really around for a while. I'm sure I've had a beer or two, but not a brewery I look for. The one you're on, I will try. Yeah, you'd quite like this. I say I bought it specifically for the Black Forest, the Anspach and Hobday collab for, I suppose, obvious reasons. ABV seems off if they really use whiskey infused beans. Yeah, maybe they balanced it with whatever the malt bill actually is. Yeah, it depends how much of that whiskey kind of comes through in the brew, but it's a very good point, actually. I hadn't really considered that. Except for the fact that the 5.7% is kind of, I say we looked at Mackie earlier with a 6% coffee stout. So, yeah, just depends what they did with those beans. Maybe dried them, maybe. Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that. It doesn't, like I say, there isn't that. Maybe they didn't soak them in very much whiskey. Maybe none of that whiskey actually went into the brew. Maybe it's just whatever soaked into the beans. Like I say, there isn't a particular spirity edge to it. And you've heard me talk about spirity edge to a beer before, usually in 12% whiskey barrel soaked or bourbon or any kind of spirit. If it is, it's only because I'm hearing it and thinking about it now. And it's kind of there on the edges, but it's fairly faint. Maybe the alcohol from that was burnt off. Maybe the beans were then roasted and the alcohol was burnt off and just left all those kind of sugars. I don't know. It's still a good ABV, to be fair, 5.7. Maybe they've taken some of that whiskey character with it. I can't particularly get whiskey. Maybe it's there in that kind of slightly dry, roasty bitterness of the coffee and a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of kind of, green and black, like posh chocolate. So I've read all that. See, that's the other thing. They don't list whiskey as an ingredient. I'm guessing, obviously no whiskey gone in it. Oats, coffee, cacao, vanilla, hops, and yeast. Just for completeness, let's have a look at the bottom of the can. 25th of the 1st, 2026. So, well, if it's been 2024. But, a really nice beer. Gentle, easy drinking for, a mid-range kind of stout. Nothing too way out. I don't think it would offend non-coffee drinkers because it's not a massive coffee hit. It's just that kind of slightly burnt toast, touch of brown sugar, vague spiritiness on the outers, and no kind of sort of drying bitterness. No kind of, even with Sabro, there's no kind of that kind of the coconut husk I always talk about. That kind of when I see Sabro, it's kind of the drying, like not you go around licking coconut husks, but rather than the white fleshy bit of coconut, an actual coconut taste is that kind of slightly dry kind of coconut note. Now I think about it, that feels like a more kind of further down the pint. Not a lot of lacing on the glass, but a little bit. It feels like that sort of more dry kind of coconut with Sabro. It feels like a really well put together beer. If that's what they intended to get, and they hit that, I couldn't tell. I mean, I don't know a lot about whiskey anyway, so I can't quite see the whiskey that much. It's like a little bit of, feels like a little bit of rye sort of thing in there as well. It's not listed, obviously, but for me, it's nice. It's nice. It is very drinkable. Doesn't quite hit the mark for me of what they say, but it is, quite drinkable. I don't know. Did they say? I did just see a picture of a cask, so, or that meant to be keg, but a little cask of that would be. Well, available in can, keg, and cask. Looking at those diagrams on there that we saw just now. So, a little bit of aging process might develop those flavors a little bit stronger. Maybe that whiskey comes through a little bit more. But again, because I saw it in can, I thought, that's interesting because it's NeonRaptor, and it does feel like a little bit of NeonRaptor-ish kind of craft edge comes through there to a certain extent. So if I saw it on cask, I'd try a pint of that, and you could, 5.7 is very pintable, I think. And again, I found a lot to talk about it. To be fair, it does feel a little kind of whatever NeonRaptor do with clusters, and I know they do various different versions of clusters. It's not too far off clusters from NeonRaptor for me, I think. A little bit more kind of, a little bit more smoothness coming through now, a little bit like chocolate ice cream in there, which is kind of why I say it's got that kind of NeonRaptor note to it, like a big beer in a smaller package. Probably better than clusters, to be fair. I've had a couple of different clusters variants, and I always like the idea of it, but this feels like a bit more a little bit more decadence, a little bit more. It's getting more velvety and kind of ice cream smoothness. Yeah, it definitely has that kind of NeonRaptor edge to it, I feel. I haven't really had enough Salopian beers, certainly the cans now. I've got them now to try, see if I can find that Salopian note, because a lot of breweries do have that kind of certain note. You can maybe pick it out, identified by watching Rob Hopsley the other day trying to find a Rivington beer in a 500ml can, 4 500ml cans of Imperial Stout, and he failed to find the Rivington. But I think the point was, it was like Rivington will have a certain note. I've not been a big fan of Rivington generally. NeonRaptor is another brewery that I've not avoided. I've had a couple, and I like the idea of what they do, but so many big beers out of NeonRaptor, you can't pick them all. This was nice. I would have, if I'd got a second can, I'd enjoy this again. I think I actually got, like I say, 2 cans of the Black Forest, the Anspach one. But this is nice. As coffee stouts go, it's gentle. That's not a bad thing, but it is smooth enough. Say a little bit of brown sugar burnt toast thing going on. Not much spirity edge. A lower ABV for the spirit they claim is on it, but yeah, definitely some milky coffee notes going on, which I quite like. Feels pretty good. Bear with me a second. Guess what? The old nose has gone. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so generally quite enjoyed that one, to be fair. A couple of good beers so far. Cheers. Definitely a balance. I've seen that chocolate coffee note so much so that I can wang on about it for probably far too long. And fair neck it, to be honest. Moving swiftly on. Press the wrong button, bear with. Two. Beer number 3, please. And beer number 3 is another Cold Town beer. This is Army of Darkness from Rivington yesterday. Lovely 10% pecan chocolate and maple impy. Yeah, I saw Rob talk about the Rivington. I'm still very much on the fence on Rivington, but that does sound good. Love a bit of pecan and chocolate in an impy maple syrup. Sounds good. So yeah, if we change the banner, there we go. So yeah, beer number 3 is from a brewery called Cold Town, versus, or rather, collab with Feirce beer. So this one is probably much less random in terms of geographical proximity, both two Scottish breweries. Cold Town, I don't know a lot about. I know a couple of years, some big sort of surge from them into, was it Aldi or Lidl, with a lot of other Scottish breweries when they did a big Scottish kind of beer fest thing. I've seen good and bad reviews of Cold Town, but this one sounded kind of interesting to me. Picked it up, I think, randomly from Trembling Madness, I believe. So it's 4.5% Smoky Session Stout. Could have put it in. I did briefly consider put it in last week's Smoky beers, but I think the set I had were kind of a good call. This one, I'm sort of not so sure about it. I'm calling a smoky beer a session beer is kind of. Could you have a session on this? 4.5%. Let's get into a glass and find out. Have a little taste to see if I could session this. I don't think I'd want. I mean, I had 3 different smoky beers. I don't think I could session more than 4 smoky beers together, to be fair. But let's have a try. Let's see what we can get. Let's get into a glass and then we'll do the photograph. I've done 2 successful can balances. Let's once again try and get the hat trick for can balances. If I get it right. Let's see what it pours out like. Very, very lively to start with. Not too much thinness on that. It's very oily, kind of brown on the pour, but yeah, massive ice cream head development going on, which usually indicates a beer that's been sitting around a while. I got this in, probably 2 months ago now. I think it was end of September. It depends how long it's been sitting at Trembling Madness. Don't have to often sit around too long, but yeah, massive creamy head development. So we'll check the date in a bit and see where we get. See how quickly it settles. Doesn't seem to be dissipating too early. I generally find that means the beer's been sitting around a while. So it's been sitting in my stash. So it's been nice and cold. I'm not seeing instant dissipation, so we could be here a while. Might have to go and get the spoon. Might have to spoon some of that head away. I don't think there's enough out for the can balance straight away. So I don't know. Say Rob the other day was talking about brewery quality when you get a beer that does that. So I've got the can balance away, so we're all right. So I don't like taking photographs of massive, but otherwise might be seen as dickhead pours. But it definitely wasn't me. So we were okay with the can balance. We were okay there. So that was about all right for the can balance. So that doesn't necessarily make it a bad beer necessarily. It might just be, like I say, longevity that's been sitting around. Can't really smell a lot there. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. You never know how these things are going to go. Sometimes it doesn't go well. My little nose hasn't gone well today at all. Let's give it some agitation, see if that helps with the dissipation. Do you know what? I don't know Cold Town anything, so I'll just take it as it is. Do the can balance and see what happens. So bear with me a sec. We'll do the can balance. I'm pleased I've got three beers in balance today. I like that little juxtaposition of getting the can balance and whether a beer or not is balanced. Put it in the fuller's glass. Unclean glass. Let's try and get this photograph away anyway. I'm going to have to put the screen down. And then we'll see just how smoky this beer is. There we go. Oh yeah, it looks good. Looks much more silvery, but it's got a kind of nice pastel kind of colours on the can art. So we'll take that one. Yeah, just that massive, slightly over-carved head. But we shall find out whether because of less longevity of it's been in the can or not. So we'll top that up there. Yeah, maybe make a much better photograph now, but anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, 4.5% Smoky Session Stout. I'm not going to be able to smell the smoke, so let's go and try and get the taste. No, can't really smell a thing. Slightly blocked up nose, so let's not worry about it. Cheers. Oh, okay. Well, you know I like a smoky beer, right? For me, that the first thing I get off of that beer, when you say smoky, feels like chowing down on a lump of coal. No, I haven't chowed down on a lump of coal, ever. But it's smoky in terms of coal smoke. If you ever stand at like a preserved steam railway, you get that whiff of coal burning, or even if somebody's having a coal fire, ever. Many people do these days. But yeah, very, very, very much coal smoke, both in terms of kind of the blackness of coal and yeah, that kind of carbony note. Again, not a bad thing, a criticism necessarily, but a very, very different kind of coal note to the smoky beers. Very different kind of smoky. On bonfire night last week, there was again 3 fairly different smoky beers in terms of beer style and flavour. It has dissipated fairly well now, so that's all right. But yeah, very much coal smoke for me. Steam trains, that kind of thing. That's not the best kind of stout. It's not thin, but it feels a slight, very slight watery edge, which is aided by the smokiness in a way. It has that kind of slightly, not astringent, but like I say, a kind of coal note. Like I say, I've heard good things and bad things about Cold Town. Feirce Beer do some phenomenally, if dare I say it, fiercely good stouts. So what they've brought to this pie is interesting. I don't know, but like I say, this is a slightly less random collab because they're both up in Scotland. So I say I've heard good things and bad things about Cold Town. This one, definitely not the best of the bunch by any means. It's more, there's a bit of molasses, a bit of kind of almost Marmite-y kind of note in that kind of, you know how Marmite has that slightly kind of smoky beer kind of note to it, or for me maybe anyway. This is a kind of, yeah, there's a little bit of molasses, a little bit of very dark, slightly bitter treacle. Very much the kind of dark, bittery edge of chocolate and coffee. There's a little bit of chocolate and coffee going on. It's not way terrible or way out, and I don't think it's like bad because of date wise. I think it's just a very complex set of flavors in there. But yeah, mostly all I get is kind of coal smoke, which is interesting. Not necessarily bad. So let's see what we can find. Well, here we go. And again, I haven't read this. You'll have to believe in me on that. It says Smoky Session Stout, dark and treacly. Look at the treacle, really dark treacle, with the subtle smokiness of toasted beechwood malt. Well, I mean, coal, wood, whatever. But there is, yeah. See, beechwood. You're going at Bamberg Rauch beer malt, but yeah, it's more cold than wood for me. But again, yeah, there is that kind of big smokiness. That smokiness, and there is that wood smoke note that could also be coal smoke because that's much the same thing, but it's fairly subtle in there. This is a sensationally sessionable stout. Well, this is the thing, because there's no heavy smoke notes. Say it's more coal smoke. I could see wood smoke. It's not like seriously bacony smoky, you know. And it's slightly balanced by that kind of treacle molasses, kind of slightly marmite note, but without being savoury like Marmite, if you know what I mean. Brewing and canned in Edinburgh, Cold Town in Edinburgh. Feirce are up in, is it Aberdeen or Dundee where Feirce are actually based? I think they got bars in both. Batch 1588. Best before November 25. Now, don't get me wrong. Best before is a nominal, so I'm feeling that's been sitting. I think it was at I'm fairly certain it was at Trembling Madness, so that might be sitting at Trembling Madness for best part of the year because I got it a couple of months ago. So that would account for the massive, I think, carbonation on the head, which is now dissipated. Yeah, a little bit lively in the can, closer to the date, but doesn't necessarily, I don't think, affect the flavour and a bit of the taste particularly. I think that is what it is. Like I say, they say wood smoke, I say coal-fired smoke, coal smoke. The darkness of it, the carbon feels like there's no kind of, like on the Salopian, I said that there's that burnt white bread toast thing. This is more, it's not barbecue, it's just standing around a fire, but only getting the smell of coal. Coal by its definition is pretty smoky on an aroma, not like I go around sniffing lumps of coal on a regular basis, but it's just what I imagine it to be. A little bit more blackcurrant there suddenly now, a little bit of dark fruit. Feels like blackcurrant, unless that's the Hackney coming through a little bit where blackcurrant was predominant. Yeah, a little bit of fruitiness. You know, that kind of dark fruit you get from a stout. A little bit of date, perhaps. Not so much on the brown sugar, more sort of that fruitiness of a darker fruit, dates, hints of plum, perhaps. Again, an interesting beer for different reasons. I don't think it's the best stout-wise. Certainly not the best of the three, but very interesting. I would love to have done it with a clear nose where I could smell that smoke. Would have improved that experience, I think, would have gone much more towards the beechwood, towards the wood smoke. But it's definitely, yeah, definitely kind of coal. I can't get away from coal. It's standing at a coal bunker, standing on a preserved steam railway with whiffs of carbon. It's very carbon heavy kind of smoke note, and yet the smokiness is fairly, as it says on the write-up, fairly subtle. Not a bad beer, I don't think. It definitely indicates that I would love to have tried it 6 months ago when I guess it was out. I'm not going to look at the websites on this because it won't be on either website. Then in that case, I'm not going to look at Cold Town. Cold Town, like I say, have been fairly sort of hit and miss. Had a lot of beers in, I think it's Lidl rather than Aldi, and a lot of weird beers as well. I've seen a lot of odd reviews. But yeah, an interesting one to finish. Say not an out and out smoky beer. Not terrible enough that I'm not interested enough to go back and try it. It's when I finish. I'll still question that sessionability. I wouldn't want more from one of these. I just kind of want to try it and see what it is. I don't think I'd have an evening on this. You know, when you say about sessionability, it's more about the ABV, like at 4.5%. Yes, I could happily drink 6 of these at 4.5%. I'm not sure I'd want to because I think that would get that carbon note would get a bit cloying eventually, probably after the second. If it was the only stout on, then I would happily have another one. Yeah, I realise that I'm enthusiastic about it because it's really interesting notes. I'm not selling it that yeah, you should definitely have a go at this, like maybe the other two. But if you're reviewing beers like I do, I see it and I thought that's interesting, mainly because of Cold Town. I love Feirce, what they do. A smoky session stout sounds interesting and be a juxtaposition between the two, because despite doing, like I say, 3 smoky beers last week, I'm not sure I'd want to do more than 3. I'm not sure I'd want to do more than 2 of this one. It would have been interesting against the other 2 smoky beers last week. So last week, no, it's the week before now, wasn't it? Because I had a little wobble last week and I done one review. But yeah, it's definitely a really interesting beer. It's not amazing, but I mean, because now we've established it's been around all year, and I don't think anybody else has noticed it. It's a slightly random beer, not necessarily one the breweries themselves have sung about. So it's not trendy. And you know, I love to do trendy in beers that not necessarily anybody else has seen. Obviously, having a Hackney, but these 2 stouts, not many people have seen it really. So yeah, I can't wholeheartedly recommend it, but I would say it's worth a go just because it's one of those reviews where I find it odd. You might find it odd and interesting. It's interesting rather than exceptional. And it's worth a try just because it is a bit different as well, you know. It hailed slightly there and got a bit more burnt toast than previously. And also a little bit more spring water. But that's that 4.5%, I suppose. Yeah, so I can't wholeheartedly recommend it. I'm not selling it at all. Again, a very astute point, Mr. Wilson. Yeah, I try not to be negative, but I'm not positive enough about it to say this is brilliant. It's just interesting, a bit different. I think it's a good set of beers together because it's been sort of up and down. I started off really well, but some of those flavours from the Hackney Church come through, and the other 2 as well a little bit. And so they balance of the 3 a really nice set of beers. Like I say, only put together by accident because I'm interested in this whole kind of collab thing. Wider, I can see Cold Town and Feirce. They're off the east coast of Scotland, so it's fairly close geographically. I'm more confused by Salopian and NeonRaptor. It's just pick a craft beer brewery, NeonRaptor in it. But, and I can see Hackney Church and Mackie. You're in the southeast, aren't you, basically? So yeah. I'm not massively selling it. That's a good point. And but if I saw it around, I wouldn't. I think, yeah, it because of the way I drink. If I saw any of these beers around, I wouldn't try them again. I wouldn't buy another can of any of these 3 because I've tried them now. If I saw them on a bar, I'm like, and like I proved that last week with Valley of Lights, that one from Bristol Beer Factory. I tried it on tap, so I bought a can of it. So now any of the beers I've had in can, I will, if I see them on tap, try them just to kind of get that juxtaposition, get that balance. If I see any of these on tap, I would try them. There would be a lot of other beers that I'd try ahead, but because I've tried them in can, I probably would try them on tap. I'd have half of the Smoky. I think I'd have half of the Colt Town. I'd have a pint of Salopian because it was a solid beer. And if I see Briar Patch, I'd try that in a mid-session because it's a good vitamin C hit. It's a good refresher, palate refresher. Nice fruity note, not too sour, not too out and out mad sour, but just really interesting, really, really nice fruit sorbet kind of note. So yeah, in conclusion, a good set of beers that nicely it puts 3 beers that kind of play off each other pretty well. So I'm pleased to try. They're all 3. Even this is kind of drinkable. It's something interesting to find and go back for. Trying to get that cold note each time is really odd. Definitely very subtle. The write-up is correct. Definitely very subtle smokiness. Like I say, coal smoke or wood smoke smokiness. But yeah, interesting set of beers. A nice end to a Sunday. I'm going to go think about that Colt Town a little bit more. I think if it had been done at Feirce, it would probably be better. I'm not sold on Colt Town. Some of the beers I've seen from them, but yeah, really interesting. Got 3 good can balances out of it, so the photographs would be good if I actually get around to doing them. I will try and do them tomorrow. I've got other beers lined up because I've got far too many in. So if I've got enough, I just got a notification that was a bit close to my StreamYard limit. But I think as long as I do an hour, I can do one Monday and Tuesday. Whether I do on Wednesday or not, if it's another matter. But I think that's the end of my limit. So I will try and do one Monday and or Tuesday. Got some cans lined up. Because, well, these things amuse me. And I can, and I love a beer. I love talking about beer. And I love it if you guys join me, especially yourself, Mr. Wilson. Thanks for popping in today. If you're watching this after the event, and I've managed to edit it down and get all the chapters down there, you can just skip through into the beer reviews. See, I'm helpful like that, because that's what you're meant to do as well. The algorithm loves it. And in return, if you could click like and subscribe, about down there somewhere. Second time I've asked now. I don't do it more than twice, but yeah, that'd be lovely. Helps us out. Be fantastic. And yeah, we'll see you for the next beer review soon. Bring beer, bring chats, have fun. Let's talk about beer. And as always, cheers and enjoy the beer. Let me know drinking. Bear with me whilst I find the outro. Happy damn Sunday night. Have good beers. Cheers, Mr. Welsham. And yeah, see you for the next one. Next time, and bear with me whilst I find the outro. Didn't have an intro. Sorry about that. But I've got an outro as long as I can find it. And yeah, see you for beers sometime soon.